What is up, folks? This is Kevin, aka the Tattooed Toy Hunter, bringing you my top 10 rarest action figure video. Now, the information and the list in this video has been found by me just researching the internet and picking information off of many websites I looked through. So that's where my information has come from. So let's go ahead and get into the list. Okay, so number 10 is going to be the MacGyver action figure by Glasslight. Okay, this is a Brazilian toy company that produced numerous American toy lines for the South American market in the 80s and 90s. While many of their toys were fairly identical to their American counterparts, occasionally they would create toys that did not have any American analog. One of these was a 3-inch figure known as MacGyver, which came out just a year after the show was canceled in '93. Number 9 is Galaxy Rangers. The Adventures of the Galaxy Rangers was one of the first Western cartoons to incorporate stylistic elements of Japanese animation. A space western with elements of sword and sorcery, the show had a standard 65 episodes necessary for syndication, but in the US at least, no toys. Galoob had plans for a toy line, but when Galaxy Rangers didn't prove to be a hit, the line was quietly dropped. However, some of the figures had made it to stores in Europe in 1986. Coming in at number 8 is Attack Armor Batman. Since Mattel first got the Batman license in 2002, they've gone through a number of iterations of the comic-based DC figures, Batman, DC Superheroes, and then DC Universe Classics. The early Batman figures had standard cut joint articulation, while DC Superheroes introduced a number of ball joint and innovative H-joint hinge hip joint. The bridge between these two lines were two excellent figures released only in Europe and Australia in 2004, which were Bat Signal Batman and Attack Armor Batman. Coming in at number 7 is El Capitan Rio, Superpowers. Kenner's Superpower line was one of the most memorable superhero lines of the 80s. In the late 80s and early 90s, some of the South American toy companies purchased the molds for the Superpowers figures and put out their own versions of lines in Colombia. One of these companies decided to spice up the line a bit by adding their own character, which is El Capitan Rio. He is a repainted Superman with the Flash's chest symbol. Coming in at number 6 is Laser Power He-Man and Laser Light Skeletor, Masters of the Universe. Now, in 1987, the popularity of vintage Masters of the Universe was coming to an end, mainly by overproduction of the figures and also a terrible movie, live-action movie that did not do well. While popularity was declining in the US, Europe was still going strong. In 1988, they came out with several products, 2 of them being Laser Light He-Man and Laser Light Skeletor. Coming in at number 5 is Dino Saucers. Dino Saucers was a short-lived cartoon in the late 80s, based closely on the Transformers mold, featuring 2 warring alien races. The good guys were known as Dino Saucers, and the bad guys were known as Tyrannos. Now, Galoob developed the toy line, but since the cartoon was not successful, like many other companies, they sold the molds to Glasslight, which was released out of the United States. Coming in at number 4 is Dick Tracy's The Blank. Now, this character was held back initially when the toy line was released because the toy itself had a removable mask. And since this could possibly be a spoiler for the movie, it did not come out when the rest of the figures came out. Now, for Playmates, when the action figure line didn't do well, they went ahead and canceled the line. So this was the Blank was not released massively for mass retail in the United States. Ultimately, the Blank was released in Canada as part of a Canadian Sears exclusive in 1990. Allegedly, only 3,000 pieces were released, making it one of the most sought-after more sought after, yet hard to find exclusives on the list. Coming in at number 3 is Titus and Megore, Masters of the Universe. Now, these two European exclusive action figures were set to be part of the Power of Grayskull's subline, set to be in prehistoric Eternia, which has featured dinosaurs as well. These two figures, Titus standing at 16 inches tall, were both only released in Europe, making them two of the most prized MOTU figures in existence. Coming in at number 2 is Yakface by Kenner Star Wars line. Now, in 1985, with sales declining for Kenner, Yakface's production was started and then canceled. Instead of destroying the little bit that was made of Yakface, it was shipped out to the European market only. Nowadays, it is very obsessed by Americans to get a hold of it, since there's very few circulating in the United States. Alright, folks, and number 1 on our list is Star Wars Droids Vicks. Some of you may or may not have heard of this character. Now, in the late 80s, there was a cartoon that was Star Wars Droids. It was not successful, and after 13 episodes, it was canceled. One wave of Droids characters with Kenner was released. After the cancellation of the cartoon, the second wave was not made. It was scrapped, but the molds had already been made. So those molds were sold to a Brazilian manufacturer, Glasslight, which you've heard several times mentioned on this list. Glasslight got the molds for the second wave, including Vicks. So again, he's very hard to find and mostly in European market. This was made in 1988. Alright, folks, so this is going to be the conclusion of my top 10 rarest action figures video. Now, again, as I said in the beginning, this is not an official video. This is just based off of my research on the internet. So I hope you enjoyed it, guys. If you have any questions or comments, please post them below. Y'all take care.